Hi. Don't mind my big water stain. I just brushed my teeth for bed. I brush them early. Um, Sorry, no update for the past couple days. I wasn't even that busy. I just forgot and just kind of chilled out this weekend. Relaxed and finished a book and watched some TV and things like that. So it was really nice. I was gonna put my whole garden to bed for winter, but this shoulder, I slept funny, I think, and I think pinched a nerve. So Saturday I could barely even move it. But it's feeling better. So yesterday he was supposed to come over to pick up the rest of his things, and I just decided to. So he either texts me or usually emails me on one of my emails. And I just decided to check my other email that I don't get notifications for. And he emailed that one saying that he wasn't going to be coming because apparently he tripped in a hole or something and he thinks he fractured his foot. I don't know. He did. I don't know. He says he went to the doctor. Whatever. And I also thought this just happened. But then he said it happened 2 weeks ago. But I'm pretty sure I saw him 2 weeks ago and he was fine. I don't know. So he says he hasn't really been able to work and everything. But we did. So I did call him yesterday just because. Well, I called him and I just said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yeah." I'm like, "Do you need anything? Maybe you should go to the doctor." And I have crutches from the last time he fell. And I asked if he wanted the crutches and he said no. And I said, "Okay." And then I hung up. And then today he actually called me to see if he could work out our issues before he goes to file the modification for the divorce. And I was pretty blunt with him. And we talked about, so the main things are the business and the dogs. And then we were talking and everything. And then I got to the point that we were starting to argue, so I just hung up. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna, he's just lying about things. So then I waited half an hour and then I did call him back. And so I started talking about the business and asking, how much money's in it and all that stuff. He's like, it's not even so much about the business now, it's the dogs. So the whole thing is he does not want me to have any sort of control of anything. So when we filled out the paperwork, I tried to get him, and I'm pretty sure I've said this multiple times on here, I tried to get him to pick a day and time of the week that every week he'd come and get the dogs and do whatever he wants with them, and that I couldn't take that time away. So, something was going on with us or whatever, I couldn't, be petty or anything and say, no, you can't come get the dogs. And he said, no, I can't do that. I'm too busy. I don't want to do that. I'm like, oh, okay, that means that they're with me then all the time. He's like, yeah, okay. I just can't, I'm just too busy. Okay. So all the animals went to me as 100%. And then, we had the spoken agreement of, give me 1 to 2 days notice on if you're going to come pick them up and you want to take them somewhere. And I'd a week's notice if you're going to take them over the weekend or whatever. Because usually he would know within that time. But I didn't want it to be he comes over whenever he wants to get them, whenever he wants them to do whatever he wants. And so I told him, if I'm the one that is taking care of the animals, I should be the one that has the final say. So because he pulled this with Lucy, that was almost 2 months now, and saying, well, if I deem it unnecessary, I'm not going to pay for it, which I'm not holding him up to helping pay for the vet anymore anyways. And so I said, if I deem it necessary to take them to the vet, then I'm going to. And, and I told him, the only times I would say, like, no, you can't take them would be, like, if they're sick or something. Lucy gets sick often. And, and I told him, I've tried to give you multiple opportunities to come and get the dogs, and no, he cannot have it where I have final say. Where, uh, So he says, I cannot be under your boot anymore for anything. Well, I'm the one taking care of the dogs. I'm the one with them. And he's like, I have a letter from the dog trainer, and I have text saying how you refuse to go to the dog park. And okay, most dog trainers don't like the dog park anyways. So if you want to use that. But I said, I take them for walks and I play with them every day. They're big dogs in our small yard and blah. You never took them for walks and you never played with them. And you would take them to the dog park maybe once a week. That's all you ever did. And if I asked you to take them outside and play, you would go outside and sit down and be on your phone. So, yeah. So I said, honestly, that was my Fitbit. Honestly, you can try for this, but you're not going to get what you want. Your best bet is to talk to me and we can try and figure this out. But you can take it to a court. You can pay for my lawyer fees, and you are not going to get what you want. And at one point, he even admitted to not reading the papers. And I'm like, we sat down and went through each item point by point, and we went through it. And it's not like I ever hid the papers. They were sitting right on this table. He went with me to make copies, to scan to my email, to send it to the Self-Help Law Center. He had every opportunity to read through the papers, which I'm pretty sure he did look through them. I'm like, and a judge isn't going to buy that. You signed this. You agreed to this. But he did, so this all started because he did send me the other half of the first payment he was supposed to send me. Because he only sent me a tiny bit over half of it. And he said, that's my last payment. I don't have to pay you anything till January. So no, you have to pay me for October, and then there's November and December. And then he was deducting all these things that I paid for out of the joint account because that's where my money was at the time. And it was bills because he was still living at this house, so they included him. Anyways, but he was trying to deduct what I owed him from his payments to me. I'm like, you don't get to arbitrarily decide this. Because this is court ordered. We didn't talk about that, but he did actually send me the other half, which I was shocked. And I told him on the phone too, I'm like, it is ridiculous that you told that lawyer that she was harassing you for one email. Well, look what you have been doing to me, and that is harassment. He's like, I have not been harassing you. But anyways, I stayed pretty flat the majority of the time. When I did start to get a little more wound up, that's when I did hang up the phone for a little bit. But I was pretty blunt, and he's like, and you lied to me. You didn't retain an attorney. I'm like, every attorney I talked to told me there is no need to retain anyone until you file something and that you're not going to win it anyways. So, yeah. I'm like, you can take your chat GPT and try all you want. He's like, no, I actually have a lawyer. I had a consult and everything. Like, okay, you still haven't retained them. So, but anyway, so he said he was going to go file it. So if he did, he has to serve me papers. And I still haven't heard back from any of the lawyers I reached out to last week. But now I'm not worrying about it until I do get served something, because now he's no longer in contempt of court until the 15th of this month if he doesn't make his next payment. But yeah, he says he hasn't really been working, so, and he usually does 2 weeks of his business in November, then he goes hunting. Last year he only did 1 week, then took 3 weeks of vacation. And then he brought up last year too, and I'm like, why are we talking about this right now? What is the point of this? And it was, I don't even know, something stupid. But yeah, I sent I might have said this too. I sent because he had sent me an email of like what he wanted to clarify for the modifications, and then he sent it to me again. But the first time I sent him my reply to it, and that's where I said, the dogs, my decision will be final when it comes to the dogs, and everything that I said. So I sent that to my brother too to review that, and he's like, that seems fair to me. So, and I even said with the business, okay, if we can't make it to be the payout we agreed, then as close to that as we can get, and I'll be okay with that. But no, it's he cannot stand me having any kind of control of any situation. And it was really the first time that we talked and stuff that I didn't feel sick after. And it didn't really bother me or anything. So the first time in this whole process of arguing and everything. So that's good. I'm excited. I am excited to talk with my therapist tomorrow about all that. But then today, so I did take the dogs for a walk, but we got charged by another dog, which I think lived at that house. I had a collar on and everything, but I just said, no. And I grabbed my girls and we turned around, and my dogs were fine, surprisingly. That dog had its hackles raised, but I think he was okay. But still, we turned right around and I kept my eye on him. And I think that because he didn't really leave much further past that house. But yeah, then we just came home because I was worried he would follow us if we went one of the other directions. So then I hopped on Amazon and bought some dog mace and a lanyard that can hold my phone and my keys and have the mace and everything, so I'm not carrying a bunch of stuff, and I can just have it on my neck. Because I know Ethel can be very aggressive, and she's part livestock guardian dog, part Great Pyrenees. But I don't want there to be a dog fight while I'm walking them or anything. And there is my neighbor, last year maybe, was walking her dog, her little dog, and a dog came running out and attacked her dog pretty bad, while she was just walking around somewhere nearby to walk. And so she started carrying bear spray and stuff, or spray, pepper spray, something like that. And that's always been a fear of mine, taking them for walks, is being attacked by another dog. It actually happened to my brother several years ago. He was walking one of his dogs, and this dog out of nowhere came out and just was attacking his dog, and it was kind of bad, and I think maybe it bit him too, and no one was helping. Someone driving by finally stopped, and they were able to pull the dogs apart. So, and there are some dogs around here that do get out and run around. And I bought a 2-pack of bear spray from Costco, and I think he took both of them because one of them was supposed to be for me to take on walks with the dogs, that we got after the neighbor's dog was attacked. So I hopped on, and it was $20 for both things. So I was fine with that, especially because that's, I feel is a necessity for my dogs, for being able to take them comfortably on walks. So yeah, that was the excitement. And then we came home and our walk was cut short, so why don't we hang outside for a while? So I finally got, because I wanted to burn some of the wood and some of the dead plants and stuff that I have, and take some of the ash and mix it, or top just a little bit of ash on some of my dirt, with manure, and then leaves and stuff from the yard. And Saturday, so I had pulled all my dead plants, and then I took a little break because my shoulder, and then went back out and started a fire. And as soon as I got the fire started, it started raining, and it rained pretty hard. So I was able to get a fire and get a decent one going. I think it's still glowing out there actually, and it's raining now, but got my fire, so I have some ash, so now I can finally finish cleaning up outside and topping everything with some ash and manure. And then I was going to rake up all the leaves because the leaves are supposed to be really good. And putting that on my dirt, and then cutting up, if I need more, cutting up some of the dead plants I pulled and using that. And then everything will be ready for winter. And hopefully it gives the soil good nutrients, so I don't have to buy nearly as much dirt next year. So, yeah, things are surprisingly okay right now. Especially considering, like, the talk and like, I'm just shocked it didn't affect me usually. And still, every time I get, like, a notification for an email or something, it's like my heart drops. And I'm worried it's going to be him. Another thing from him. But really surprisingly, after talking to him, I was totally fine today. So there's progress. And I did not let him, like, manipulate me or, persuade me in any way. Like, I stuck firm to what it is. One, we agreed on. And he's like, there's two ways to go about this. One is fraud and the other is being misled. I'm like, I did not mislead you in anything. You sat right there. We talked about every point. I have not changed anything. Everything we're doing, we specifically talked about the dogs that day when I said, okay, so when it comes down to it, I'm going to have final say, and you're going to have to ask me and give me notice of when you want to take the dogs and stuff. And if I say they can't go, then they can't go. And he was like, yep, that sounds good. That sounds fair. And now all of that's gone. And, he'll say, well, no, that's not what happened. So, okay, sure. Let's go talk to a judge and see what they say. Because they're going to say, you signed this, you agreed to it, you knew what was happening. And if you didn't, then why did you sign it? Yeah, so he can talk all he wants. He knows. And I'm even in this whole situation, I'm very, like, honest. And I told him I want him to see the dogs. And, like, I just have a hard time lying, like, at all. He lies all the time. But me, and even as I started to figure that out, which took me way too long, like, it's still, like, I couldn't keep anything from him. I don't lie. I don't. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I can't. Even if it's, like, better for me to not tell the truth, it's just like, well, I have to. If that makes sense. Like people saying, oh, don't tell them that. Don't do this. Don't say that. It's like, well, but I should. Like, yeah. I remember I told my niece that a few years ago too. And I don't remember what we were talking for. They're like, whoa, you don't lie. Like, no, I have a really hard time, like, lying. Like, I don't. So, and it bugs me that all he does. I did actually notice from pretty early on that he did lie. But I guess I thought it was like a pride thing at the time. We were like 19, 20. Well, he was probably like 21. I don't know. So that's where we're at right now. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I have therapy tomorrow. I'm excited to tell her about, the interaction today. Yeah, I stuck to my guns. I was really happy about that. Yeah, and he's like, I don't care if I lose, but I have to try and fight it. And even if I do lose, I'll still make the payments every month. And I'm like, I didn't say it, but I'm like, yeah, you will, because it's literally quarter right now. So, and yeah, and I said, you're not going to win. But he wants to try, so okay. Yeah, I've talked long enough. I need to take a shower. I smell like smoke. Which means my bed will smell like smoke if I don't take a shower. So, yeah. I did one last thing. So yesterday I didn't really have much motivation to do a whole lot, actually, and it was like, was yesterday rainy? I think it was. I can't remember now. It was really windy. That's what it was. It was really windy. And I didn't really want to do a whole lot. And then I decided I deserve like a freshly vacuumed house because it was starting to bug me. And I'm like, I deserve clean floors this week. And so I vacuumed the whole house and then mopped downstairs. And I've been so happy about it ever since. But I've started to put that, before, with him, it was like, I have to get this done. I have to have this. I have to do this. I don't know if it was like trying to maintain an image, trying to make sure he's happy, doesn't think I'm lazy, whatever it was. And now I've really started to turn it into, I deserve it. I deserve a clean house that makes me happy. And it's so silly because I walk on the fluffy, freshly vacuumed carpets and I'm just like, oh, it's so nice. And I'm like, every single time I'm like, it does make me happy. I'm so happy I did it. So switching my thinking that way has been really nice. And tonight too, I cooked a whole, I had chicken marinated. I wanted teriyaki chicken, so I marinated some. And then I made like a quick little stir fry with some frozen veggies and some pasta. And I had some like crab rangoons that they were on sale, like buy one, get one free. So I had a full-fledged meal that I cooked for myself. And so that was nice. I haven't been doing a whole lot of like actual cooking for myself. But I made sure to include vegetables. I don't have a whole lot of fresh food in the house right now. But including, the frozen, the steamed vegetables and with the stir fry and stuff. And it was really nice and I enjoyed it. And I never got to cook any sort of like Asian food with him here. Now I have leftovers. And now I'm just rambling and rambling and rambling. So I really appreciate all of you being here. It just makes me so happy to have started a little community in whatever way. If you're going through this and you feel completely broken and like you don't know what to do, that's why I started this channel. Or if you've been through this and you just want like people from the same situation, whatever. Maybe you just like someone talking and talking and talking. But I so appreciate you being here. Because divorce sucks. Okay, sorry. Distraction. It's almost bedtime. I will catch up with you tomorrow. I'm gonna get better at this. Thank you for being here. Love you. Bye.